The air in Lyon, France buzzed with tension. Cardinals, monks, and envoys filled the streets, their robes brushing against common everyday merchants and townfolk who could hardly believe this was happening in their city. Inside the Great Hall, banners of the West hung beside the crests of Byzantium. For the first time in centuries, leaders from divided halves of Christianity faced one another across the same table. On one side sat representatives of Pope Gregory X, the Roman Catholic Church, eager to claim a long-awaited reunion. And on the other side were envoys from the city of Constantinople and the Byzantine Emperor Michael VIII and the Eastern Orthodox Church, carrying the hopes and the suspicions of the East. Would centuries of hostility end with signatures on parchment, or would the wounds between East and West prove deeper than ceremony could heal? The stakes were enormous: faith, politics, and the fragile hope that Christians could again speak with one voice. History was about to test whether unity was real or only a word. From the That's Jesus channel, welcome to Coach, where we trace church origins and church history. I'm Bob Balch, and on Wednesdays we stay between 500 and 1500 AD. Today we turn to the year 1274, when church leaders gathered in the city of Lyon, France, to attempt something bold, to heal the centuries-old split between the Roman Catholic Church in the West and the Eastern Orthodox Church in the East. Now, Pope Gregory convened the council, and Emperor Michael sent delegates. They sat beneath the same vaulted roof, trading words in hope of reunion. The Western voices pressed, though, for papal authority and recognition of the Western confession of faith. The Eastern envoys, they carried the weight of a suspicious people back home. The meeting was not only about theology, it was about power and politics and the fragile trust needed for reconciliation. Those agreements, well, they were signed, but the deeper question remained: could hearts divided for centuries truly be made one again? To understand why the Council of 1274 mattered, we need to take a look back. For centuries, Eastern and Western Christianity had grown apart. Language was one barrier, Greek versus Latin, and culture was another, emperors and patriarchs versus popes and princes. And by 1054, the strain erupted into open division, and we remember that as the Great Schism. Fast forward to the 13th century, and the Eastern Empire is now very weak. Its capital of Constantinople only recently recovered from a Western Crusader occupation. Emperor Michael, desperate to secure allies, saw reconciliation with Rome as a survival strategy. If he could win papal favor, he might gain Western military support against the new threats from the Turks. And on the other side, Pope Gregory longed to rally Christendom for another crusade, but he knew a fractured church could not fight with one voice. A council, he believed, could repair the breach. So he called bishops, abbots, and theologians to meet in Lyon, a French city along the Rhone River, and from the east came solemn delegates carrying the emperor's promises. From the west came a throng of church leaders determined to settle doctrine and discipline. And for a brief moment, two worlds that had once walked side by side but then drifted apart came back together again and sat down, face to face. Inside the council chamber, expectations were high. Pope Gregory's representatives laid out what they believed would be the foundation of unity. Quote, "Let us unite as one church under Christ's vicar." So the East would need to acknowledge the Pope as the highest earthly authority in the entire church. The East would also need to accept the Western confession that the Holy Spirit comes not only from the Father, but he also comes from the Son, a phrase known as the Filioque. The delegates from Constantinople, carrying the instructions of Emperor Michael, gave their agreement. And to Western ears, it sounded like history had suddenly shifted for the better. For the first time since the schism, signatures were placed on documents declaring unity instead of excommunication. And songs of thanksgiving echoed through the council. But cracks were visible even then. The envoys from Constantinople knew that back home, many bishops and many ordinary believers, they continued to mistrust Rome. They feared domination more than they wanted fellowship, and accepting papal authority and Western wording about the Holy Spirit felt, to many, well, it felt like surrender. But still, the council pressed forward. Alongside reunion, it also addressed reform within the Western Church, disciplining clergy and streamlining church administration and reviving crusade plans. For a season, Lyon stood as the place where centuries of division seemed, at least on paper, to be healed. Now, for a brief moment, it seemed as though the dream of unity was realized. Letters went out announcing reunion. Western leaders rejoiced that Rome and Constantinople were, at least officially, one again. Pope Gregory saw it as triumph, proof that patient negotiation could heal even centuries-old wounds. But reality caught up quickly. In Constantinople, the reception was icy cold. Many clergy denounced the agreement as betrayal. Ordinary believers bristled at the idea of bowing to papal authority. And the Filioque, that clause, those three little Latin words, "and from the Son," was heard not as unity, but as a foreign intrusion. A Constantinople chronicler recorded the backlash, public outcry, protests, and refusals to accept the deal. Michael had achieved a diplomatic victory in the West, but at home, he faced unrest that threatened his very throne. Within years, the fragile union unraveled. And yet, even in failure, the council left its mark. It showed that dialogue was possible. It revealed how deeply politics shaped the faith, and how quickly trust can crumble when leaders make agreements their people do not embrace. The Second Council of Lyons, it ended not in lasting unity, but in disappointment, a reminder that signatures on parchment mean little if hearts remain divided. On paper, unity was won, but in practice, it collapsed as soon as the ink dried. The East and West would not truly reconcile, and the divide remains to this day, but the council still shaped the centuries that followed. Later leaders looked back to Lyon as proof that dialogue is possible, even if it is fragile. It revealed how easily agreements signed in public can be undone by resistance in private. And it showed that the deepest wounds are not healed by words alone, but by trust, humility, and genuine change. And that lesson still speaks. We live in a world quick to make promises and a world that's slow to keep them. Lyon reminds us that unity without sincerity is a house built on sand. Lasting reconciliation requires more than a document. It requires transformed hearts. Lyon forces us to be honest with ourselves. Do our words of forgiveness match our actions? Saying "I forgive you" is one thing. Truly living out forgiveness is another. There's also a difference between being friendly and being friends. For Christians, the difference is even sharper. Being kind is good, but Jesus calls us to be family. Family works through conflict. Family carries one another's burdens, and family refuses to leave each other behind. Guarding our hearts is wise. Setting boundaries is healthy. But there is danger when boundaries turn into walls with no doors. A wall can keep harm out, but it can also keep healing out. And it can also turn into a box that we never leave. The Council of Lyons, it reminds us real reconciliation is costly. It demands humility, patience, and love that endures disappointment. The question is whether we will settle for the appearance of peace or risk the harder road of genuine unity. If this story of the Second Council of Lyons challenged or encouraged you, would you consider sharing the episode with a friend you never know who might need to hear it? And while you're at it, leave a review on your podcast app. That really helps out others discovering Coach. Be sure to follow us for our weekly episodes. References and even contrary opinions are always linked in the show notes. We do that on purpose. We've also placed Amazon links in there to help you at no extra cost. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases as you fill up your library. And next time, we're going to explore another turning point in church history where unity was tested in surprising ways. You never know what you're going to get on Coach, but on Wednesdays, we stay between 500 and 1500 AD. Thanks for listening to Coach, Church Origins and Church History. I'm Bob Balch with the That's Jesus channel. Have a great day and be blessed. And if you do read those show notes, pretty surprised. I'm actually surprised you got to the end of this episode. Most people stop listening by now.